Thank you for listening today on Revealing Wholeness, sponsored by Infinity Whole Health. Check out our website at infinityWholeHealth.com, where we are revealing the eternal in each individual, the infinite in the individual. The creativity is made manifest. Limitation is let go. Now, here's your host, Dr. Troy Munson.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Troy Munson on Revealing Wholeness. You know, I have clients come in every single day and tell me things of vitamins that they're taking, and they'll ask me questions on it because it's part of what I do. To give an example, I had a gentleman come in 2 days ago, and he talked about a B12 supplement that he's on. At first he said he's just on a B vitamin. And so I was suspicious at that point. I said, well, I would like to look at the vitamin itself so I can, take a picture of the back and text it to me. I want to see at least what's in it. Is there food? Is it food-based? What is it? And he says, well, it's actually just B12. I said, okay, so that's a little different. Whenever I get a single vitamin like that, I can almost always guarantee that it is a synthetic. Now, not always, but we'll say it's a pretty high percentage of the time. And I told him, I said, well, if you go home and look, you'll find that in the labeling, it'll say cyanocobalamin. And what's awesome is that it tells you actually in the name of B12, cyanocobalamin, what the mineral component is that actually makes it really awesome. And in the middle of cyanocobalamin is cobalt, which is cobalt. And so cobalt is the mineral that makes B12 actually work well in the human body and get reused and make it more potent. But if they go to a lab, they can synthesize cyanocobalamin, and there's no cobalt in it, so to speak of, that is helpful at generating what it needs to in the cofactor to reuse it correctly in the human body, and then spare it and not let it just rush out of the system. And so on a B12 shot or B12 supplement, they have to take really high doses often to feel much of the effect of it. But if we have all those other phytonutrients, not just cobalt, but everything else that goes into making B12 work correctly in the human body, there's so many phytonutrients, and most of them, I would say better than 90% of them, we probably haven't even figured out. We've never analyzed them. We can do a gas chromatograph which is a spectral analysis of all the chemicals wherever we find B12, and we'll find so many spikes, meaning every spike and divot and thing that happens in there is a different type of atom or molecule. And so where those things are is, if we analyze each one of those and start studying them and say, okay, well, let's name this one. Well, let's name that one. We'd end up having thousands, if not tens of thousands, of nutrients that we knew the human body needed. And they would still try to go to a lab and synthesize them and put them into a pill form and sell them to you and I. But ultimately, the best form of multivitamin is first and foremost always food. And so food will always be the top of the heap. We look at an egg, and I love how eggs have gotten a bad rap, and then all of a sudden eggs aren't bad for you, and then all of a sudden they're bad for you again, and they have lots of cholesterol, and cholesterol's bad, and like I've done cholesterol talks in the past, that cholesterol's not bad. Cholesterol is actually an important part of the human body for our hormones, for repair, for handling stress. It is hugely important for us. And it is the fix-a-flat in the human blood system when we don't have enough vitamin C and we crack our blood vessels, and now we get plaques. And so everybody blames cholesterol and just gets a bad rap. But eggs have, I think last I checked, 185 milligrams of cholesterol in them. It really wouldn't matter if you ate 4 or 5 a day. That will not raise your cholesterol. Now, not having a good diet and having stress all the time and circumventing or short-circuiting your hormones so that all of a sudden now you're depleting yourself of hormones, and all the cells are saying, look, I need to repair. I need some growth hormone. I need some other hormones. And so the cells start sending cholesterol out into your blood to go to your thyroid, your pituitary, your hypothalamus, the testes in men, the ovaries in women, and say, give me back my hormones. And so when you're not running well diet-wise and stress-wise, your cholesterol levels will go up, and that's a purposeful event in the human body. That is not stupid. That is not my body is now dysfunctional and I've got a genetic condition. That is a smart, intelligent design. And so we should look at those cholesterol levels and think, I really need to handle stress way better, and I need to clean up my diet in many different ways so that I can start getting nutrients into my system and be good to my blood vessels and my heart, and now start helping my system not crack and bleed out. So this is just one aspect of, when we look at things, I want to jet back to the egg really quick. When we look at an egg makes an entire chicken. Now, a chicken, like I've talked about in other podcasts, has skin, has bones, has a liver, has a brain. It's a tiny one, but has a brain. And it has, a tongue. It has blood vessels. It has a heart. It has a spleen. It has bone marrow. It has all these things. And if I eat that yolk, what are those building blocks going to do in my body? But be there to make that same stuff. So when you look at an egg, don't be fooled that they're bad for you. Now, you can feed a chicken garbage, and their eggs won't necessarily be that great for you. So, we would like to see you feed chickens a really good diet, not necessarily just grain, but having them eat insects, grass, vegetables, all things they should, even their own egg shells, because that develops more calcium within that egg that then gets to you and I, and now that's a much better whole food nutrient. Where are the next major sources of nutrients? Well, if we go to the animal kingdom, since we're omnivores, and that means we're carnivores, we eat animals. I know there's a lot of controversy out there, and if you are a vegetarian, fine, that's okay. But for the many of us that have eaten meat most of our life, or chicken, or fish, we look back and we say, okay, 1,000 years ago, what did they eat from the animal? They ate everything. They didn't just eat muscle meat like we do today. They ate the liver, the thymus gland, the kidneys. You name it, they ate it. They ground it up and put it into sausage to make it taste better with a bunch of flavoring. Well, awesome. In here in our day and age, you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody who's even tasted liver. But I have a lot of clients that still do liver. And liver is one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet because, it's the repository in the human body for all of our nutrients. That's why it's a huge organ. So everything going in from our diet into our gut goes right into the small intestine, right into the bloodstream, and right to the liver. That's the first stop of your blood from the gut. And the liver starts pulling in all those nutrients and storing them. It doesn't want all those nutrients all over the place. So eating liver, as long as it's not diseased, becomes incredibly nutrient dense in our diet. And there's many ways to stomach liver, and it's not like we're asking for 8 ounces a day. We're talking about, a half ounce, an ounce a day is usually plenty. And even daily would be excellent to do that. And there might be some controversy out there saying, well, isn't that too much iron? Well, your body can get rid of iron if it has other nutrients. If it has lots of vitamin C and the other things that are in there. So make sure you're eating lots of fiber, lots of good vegetables that are fresh, that aren't sitting on a store shelf for very long periods of time. And if you're finding that's all I've got, well, then when that farmer's market comes out, you don't even care if there's pesticides on it. You'd rather it picked that day, brought to the farmer's market, you buy it and eat it that day because that'll be better for you than stuff that sits on the shelf that's organically grown but's been sitting there for 2 weeks and has almost no nutritional value left in it. So I know this is a lot, and I want to finish up on talking about a few other things. There's people out there taking multivitamins, calcium, vitamin E, vitamin D. There's all these nutrients that we think are really vital, and they are, but not when they're synthetic. So when you look at a vitamin on a shelf, you're going to see that if it's a vitamin E, you're going to see D-alpha tocopherol or mixed tocopherols. Those are all synthesized oils. And that means they don't do anything in the human body except preserve it. Most vitamin D that's manufactured goes into preserving things like fish oil and other oils because a little vitamin D goes a long way, vitamin E goes a long way into preserving oils. Vitamin E, when we look at the whole entire structure of the vitamin E complex, the outer coating is that oil preservative, that mixed tocopherols. But inside it, there are over 1,000 things that make vitamin E what it really is in the human body. And its mineral cofactor that makes it so amazing is selenium. And they've already tested, I think, 29% of the cancers they give people with cancer, they give selenium to them, their cancers go away. This is just one aspect. Well, why is vitamin E so potent? Well, it's a huge immune booster. So wouldn't we expect selenium to really affect the immune system? And it absolutely does. So these are things that you just can't get from a lab making synthetic vitamin E and selling it to the unknowing public, you and I. So when I use a vitamin or a multivitamin or calcium, it's always going to be food-based, and I typically use standard process. And I like standard process because they grow their own nutrients, they grow it on soil that they crop rotate, they know what they're doing, they know how to get the most out of it, they even know when to pick it to get it the most nutrients. And it doesn't sit in their warehouse for 5 days before they process it and put it into a pill. They literally move their dryers out on the field at the time of picking, and from picking to dry is 5 hours. That is enormously potent nutrients going into their pills. And they use a process that is vacuum extraction for water extraction, and it's under 70 degrees. Nobody even knows how they do it. It's that well kept of a secret. Because the guy who started the company back in the early 1920s, he literally was a genius and knew how to do things. His name was Royal Lee, and he's a fascinating individual. The reason that you and I are driving automatic transmission cars right now is because of Royal Lee. It's one of his inventions, because he was a dentist, and he wanted a motor that he could speed up and slow down. And it was almost like an automatic engine or automatic transmission in our cars today. So it's really fascinating. He's a very, very brilliant man in what he did. So that being said, don't just willy-nilly go buy stuff that you hear me talk about on some of my podcasts. There are very specific ways to get the best stuff and not waste a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort. We want to heal you as quick as humanly possible, and so we want high potency things going into your body. And you'll always hear me say, number 1, food. Number 2, food supplement. Number 3, if we didn't have those 2 things, we didn't have that choice, then we've got synthetic. That's down the line quite a little bit. We'll have to go after synthetic stuff the best we can. And then if we don't have synthetic stuff, then nothing's better than drugs. So drugs is below nothing, in my opinion, because drugs they're not additive to the body, they're destructive to the body. Yes, they do handle a symptom and try to limp an ailing body on, but if you're listening to this, you're probably already getting that drugs aren't the way. You've already made that leap, and that you want to do something different. And so if you have questions on that, you have concerns on that, you have other issues, you have family members that you have questions on, please feel free to email me. You'll have all the information on the end of this podcast. If you have questions on a nutrient that you're taking, please feel free to email me. That's totally acceptable. I'd love to talk with you. And until next time, I'm Dr. Troy Munson on Revealing Wholeness.
Thanks for listening. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach Dr. Munson at 360-893-8586 or email him at chiroman@dr.com. That's CHIROMAN@dr.com. Check out our current workshop schedule on Facebook at Infinity Whole Health.